NXT TakeOver Toronto took place in the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And you started the show off with a kickoff show. You had Charlie Caruso on the kickoff show with Sam Roberts and Pat McAfee, the former NFL punter. And on the pre-show, they revealed that the third fall is going to be a steel cage weapons match in which you'll have a whole bunch of weapons filled up with a steel cage, and that's how it's going to come down, which I was thinking to myself, well, you're already going to have weapons in a street fight when you do the second fall, but they announced that on the show, and you're not going to have William Regal come out later in the show, basically. So you start the show off. Your opening match was for the NXT Tag Team Championships. You had the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, against the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. What you had here was a very good matchup. This was a very good tag team match. I really enjoyed it. They always start off really hot with the tag team styles. That's the perfect match to start the show off with, especially with the Undisputed Era. They always go on there. They always have very good matches. They have great matches, and sometimes they have matches that are really good. This was not great. I didn't love the match. I thought it was very fun. I thought it was very entertaining. I think Montez Ford can be a star. I liked how he used the people's elbow with the Rock, and he even did a rock bottom later in the match. He has a lot of potential. You had a cool combo DDT with the Undisputed Era into a German suplex. You had super exploders. You had Kyle O'Reilly jumping off the top rope with a knee drop, whole bunch of knees from O'Reilly. You had a really good Doomsday Blockbuster spot. You had a lot of fun spots in the end in which both teams broke up the falls. I thought the ending was a little bit anticlimactic. I was expecting O'Reilly to kick out. Basically, Angelo Dawkins hits both O'Reilly and Fish with a spear. When O'Reilly's down, Montez Ford jumps to the top rope and does a fantastic frog splash and pins him. I thought for sure O'Reilly was going to kick out, because if you've had matches in which they kick out and stuff like that. But that was it. I really enjoyed it. Really good, not great. I've seen better matches. I thought of all the tag team matches this year, it's probably one of the weakest, probably the weakest on takeovers, but it was still a really good opener. They really are going to push the Street Profits. They keep their belts. They are not going to go to the main roster without the tag team titles, I guess. They're just going to appear backstage on Raw, but I don't know when they're going to lose their belts, because you may as well just take the belt off them. But we'll see when the SB Era comes up to the main roster. Maybe they're a big surprise on Monday or Tuesday. They showed Ricochet in the crowd, and before they showed him, I think he's doing a chronicle for Ricochet. Up next, you have the match that was my favorite match on the whole show, believe it or not. You had Io Shirai against Candice LeRae. You had a very good video package, and my God, Io Shirai came off like a superstar here. I loved this matchup. This was an exciting match. You started off with Io doing a really brutal suplex to Candice onto an announcer's table and almost broke. It looked really painful on her ribs, and Candice LeRae is really tough. They sold it for a while. Io dominated Candice for a while in the match. Then Candice made a comeback. You had some really fun parts here. You had some cool 619s. You had a neck breaker, and they did a lot of stuff from the top rope. But my favorite spot was Candice doing a suicide dive onto Io, and instead of landing with the suicide dive, she DDTs her after she does a suicide dive, which was fucking crazy. They traded German suplexes. There was one really sick German suplex by Io Shirai onto Candice. It looked nasty. You had this amazing reverse Arana spot, and that was kind of cool, because I think that was the great spot with Bayley and Sasha a few years ago from a takeover before SummerSlam. It was a really sick reverse Arana by Candice. That was really close. It looked like that could have been it. Then they keep going to the top rope. They had a cool Spanish fly by Io. You had a backslide countered into a backbreaker, and then you had the best spot. Io Shirai hits the moonsault off the top rope, but Candice kicks out, and the crowd's going nuts. So I was thinking to myself, holy shit, this is the best women's match I've seen this year in WWE. I don't follow Japanese women's wrestling, so maybe they've had matches better, but in terms of WWE, this is by far the best women's match, and better than AEW hasn't had a women's match like this. This is easily the best women's match I've seen this year. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. My favorite match of the night, believe it or not, I thought the ending was great. I love the Koji clutch. Io's just evil. She rips poor Candice apart with just this sick submission hold, a Koji clutch. Candice passes up. Io won't even let go. Candice is done. Io comes off as a monster heel. She can be getting a big push. But it's interesting to see where they go from here. But my favorite match of the night, I loved Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae. I kept thinking to myself, why isn't this the title match? Why isn't this for the belt? No one cares about Shayna Baszler and Mia Yim for the belt. We know that. This should have happened. Io should have beat Shayna at the last show. And then Candice and Io have this match. And this is what they should have had here. I don't know why they had to do it like this. I don't know how they go back to do it. I don't know, because Io's already lost to Shayna so many times. So it's interesting to see where, it's not the main roster, so it's interesting to see where they go from here. But this completely blew the other women's match away. Like, the other women's match even belonged on the show compared to this. So you have a surprise appearance by Matt Riddle. He interrupts the show. He challenges Killian Dane, in which you have a whole bunch of security guards trying to break it up. They fight. Matt Riddle kills these security guards with some slashes. But then Killian Dane basically runs into Adam Cole, and it was funny how a security guard was basically waiting to be caught. He runs into him, and he runs him off the stage, and he does a slam onto Cole and onto this other dude. They go flying through a stage and flying through two tables. Looked pretty cool. Wasn't the only table spot we'd see on the night. But it was a cool way to set up a match on NXT TV. I don't know. Up next, you had the triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship. The Velveteen Dream against Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne. So Velveteen Dream comes out, and they do the Toronto Raptors doing his big entrance. He always gets big entrances. And the show was in the Scotiabank, and this is where the Toronto Raptors, they didn't win the title here, but they are the NBA champions. It's really cool how they did that, even though I'm sure they're not going to be anywhere near as good this following year. But the NBA champion Toronto Raptors, cool entrance for the Velveteen Dream. They used cheerleaders, and I guess they used male mascots or whatever. But it was a really cool entrance, made him look like a star. He comes up first, and you have Roderick Strong and Pete Dunne. So Roderick Strong's clearly the third wheel here. No one really cares about him. You had a fun match. You had two big backbreakers onto the apron. You had a lot of repetitive wrestling here. Probably the best part is when Roderick Strong has both Velveteen Dream and Pete Dunne on the ropes, and he keeps running into he does like 3 running elbows and smashes him in the face back to back, like kept doing it over and over again. That looked really cool. Those were really awesome. You had some good spots here. You had a cool dive. You had the sharpshooter from the Velveteen Dream, who's he's a huge wrestling fan. I like how he always tributes wrestlers. You had some good drop kicks to the outside, some moonsaults, a lot of action here. It's too much to remember everything. One thing that was a botch was basically the Velveteen Dream's on the top rope, and so is Pete Dunne and Roderick Strong. What happens is Strong hits... one of them, I think Pete Dunne hits Roderick Strong with an Olympic slam, and Roderick Strong had the Velveteen Dream's arm, and Velveteen Dream jumps off, and it didn't look as good. It looked kind of fake, but it was kind of like a convoluted Tower of Doom spot. Didn't work for me as much. You had a triangle. Another cool spot was Pete Dunne kept putting Roderick Strong in a triangle. The Velveteen Dream jumps from the top rope and does a coast-to-coast elbow drop onto the two of them while he had him in a triangle spot, breaking it up, which was really cool. Then you had the double finger break spot by Dunne. I think that's overdone now. I liked in the ending the match had basically the Velveteen Dream screwed Pete Dunne from winning the belt, and then finally at the end Roderick Strong has Dunne down. He hits him with the DVD, but then Strong hits an elbow drop and pins Pete Dunne. So I guess I don't know. I think they could go back to him and Pete Dunne at the next show. We'll see. Next, he had by far the weakest match of the night, Shayna Baszler against Mia Yim. They tried to get Mia Yim over. She had a cool entrance. They gave her some entrance. I don't know what they see in Mia Yim. I don't know why she was in this match. I don't know why Shayna's still the champ. This was easily the weakest match. No one cared. The crowd was dead for most of it. I didn't really care at all. You had some stuff here that was interesting. You had a cool spot from Mia Yim onto Shayna off the top rope, basically like a springboard sunset flip kind of move. I thought that was kind of cool. You had some parts where it looked like they were going to give it to Mia Yim. You had Shayna getting her into submission. Mia breaks out. Shayna gets it again. Mia breaks out. Then Shayna just has head scissors, and that's it. Mia Yim couldn't get out of head scissors. The match ended with head scissors. I don't see what they see in Shayna Baszler. They're going to keep pushing her. Triple H loves her. Mia Yim wasn't the person to beat her anyway, so I was like, that wasn't much. Just head scissors is how she taps out. We'll see what they do with Shayna, but I know Io needs to get the belt, but I would like for them, Io, to win the belt, then maybe Candice eventually gets it back, beats her for the belt later. But Io you'd have to have Io beat Shayna, but I don't know how you go back to that. This was really not much of a match. This was easily the weakest women's match in NXT I've seen in a while. This was nothing. Very average. Shayna wins. All right, same shit. We see this every fucking show. Shayna always wins. Next up, main event. We have the NXT Championship. Adam Cole against Johnny Gargano. 3 stages of hell, 2 out of 3 falls, whatever you want to call it. First fall is a singles match. Second fall is a straight fight. Third fall is a steel cage weapons match. So I am not a fan of 2 out of 3 falls matches, quite frankly, and the reason is the big problem, the first 2 falls mean nothing. No one cares about the first 2 falls. You have the first fall. It's like we know it's going to be one apiece. So what's interesting in all 3 of these matches, Johnny Gargano comes out to boos, Adam Cole comes out to cheers. It's always Cole being cheered over Gargano. The first 2 matches were much better than this, in my opinion. This is by far the weakest match of the 3. This was too long. This was an hour-long match. They needed blood later, but let's go on quarter. First fall is their standard match. We've seen this so many times. We've seen the first 2 matches go long. It's like they're having a great wrestling match. I don't think this was needed. I really believe what they did here was a match that was good, but it did not need to happen in the first 2 falls. They should just had a weapons cage match and use blood. They needed that just to be the whole match. Just do a vicious, brutal steel cage weapons match with buckets and buckets of blood. That's how they should have done it. It was turned into like a hokey third fall that didn't have much of a place. I thought the first 2 falls were really good, though. The first fall is a fun wrestling match. They do, they do some good spots here. They didn't kill themselves early on because they couldn't. But you had Adam Cole hitting a low blow. Gargano kicks out, but then Gargano uses a steel chair and gets himself disqualified. And Gargano basically turns heel again in the middle of the match. It's like, well, that's what a badass heel does. Then Gargano beats the living shit out of Adam Cole. He beats him down with the chair. They go through the crowd. He throws him around in the crowd, smashes him into the barricade, and then he does a big splash onto Cole through the barricades, breaking it back into the ring, sets up a chair in the middle of the rope, does the running like power slam, snake eyes into the chair, hits him puts him in the Gargano escape. Cole taps out quickly. It's one apiece, similar, just like the first match they had in New York. And of the 3 matches, this was by far the worst, I had to say. Finally, we get to the main event, and in this match, the third fall is the cage match. Gargano had 2 tables in a ring. All the stuff comes down. You have like a table set up in one corner, a ladder set up in another corner, chairs. You had a bag, which everyone thought was thumbtacks, and it wasn't. You had the sledgehammer, and you had a whole bunch of kendo sticks. They use the kendo sticks early, then they go to then they go to the tables being set up. They use chairs. There's a whole bunch of Canadian Destroyer spots, and all I can think of is you can't do a Canadian Destroyer and it means nothing. You had a DDT into 2 chairs set up, which was cool, but then the Canadian Destroyer still go back to that. Cole hits one. It's a kick out because there's weapons set up everywhere. There's tables set up. We know that's not going to be the finish. There's another one by Cole, and this was crazy. He goes from the middle of the ladder, hits a Canadian Destroyer, he kicks out, or what is it called, a Panama Express. And then Gargano hits one from the middle of the rope. That should be the finish. It kicks out. No one can buy it. And they go nuts. Johnny Gargano is stupid. He grabs the bag. Everyone thinks it's thumbtacks. It's just pliers, and he goes and cuts off barbed wire. Then Adam Cole and him climb to the top of a ladder, climb up to a table set up on the middle of the rope, and he tries to use barbed wire. They both fall off the top of the cage through a table. It smashes into pieces. Cole quickly pins him 1, 2, 3. Adam Cole is still your NXT champion.